it's time to share a few home truths. As I go across to Kanwal Sibal and C Singh and Sheshadri Chari, I'm coming to you in a minute. You know, I'm sorry for the delay. The home truth is, Kanwal Sibal, according to a recent report, and really, I think this part of the telecast should be shown all across America. Grades 1 to 3 of domestic help, or those who are staff of American diplomats, earn less than $1 a day. Their meals are cut down to 1 meal a day. Their salaries which they pay their domestic staff are short of official poverty levels. Do you want me to tell you more? This should embarrass every single American.
Then we must expose them and take action.
Well, we are exposing them. That's what we are doing. There's such double standards. I haven't seen it anywhere in the world. Every single country, self-respecting country, would treat people better than American diplomats do. Who on earth are they to lecture us in the way that they are doing tonight? Kanwal Sibal, your response.
Well, you know, a few things that we must note. First of all that needed to be said has already been said, and all the salient points have been made. The fact is that the U.S. charge sheet itself says that Devyani was paying rupees 30,000 per month to the maid. Along with that, obviously, travel from India, medical expenses, accommodation, food, if you add up all that, it's a pretty tidy sum. But even if you take just 30,000, in terms of salary structures in India, in terms of salary structures of our diplomats abroad, the relationship of this to our per capita income, this is a very handsome sum. And this is not very much below what our service staff, India-based service staff, drivers, chauffeurs, security guards and others get. So the Americans don't bother if Indian diplomats are paid far below American diplomatic staff gets paid, or our service staff gets far less paid than American service staff. But when it comes to domestic staff, then America, State Department, all these people are up in arms. There's some grave injustices being committed, and slave trade. This is nonsense. This kind of artificial moral outrage is repugnant to common sense. And why is the U.S. Embassy then giving visas on official passports when they know very well, as the U.S. charge states, that Devyani was going to give her $4,500 a month?
Yeah, ridiculous.
Are they foolish? Are they naive?
They knew all this.
Don't they have their feet on the ground?
They knew all
that this is wrong, and they should have refused to give the visa. But it was a practical solution that was found between the Ministry of External Affairs and the embassy, that since our diplomatic personnel carry domestic staff which are necessary for their functioning, and for hiring local staff they don't get sufficiently paid, that if the letter of the law is observed, and they will issue the visas, which they have been doing. Now this time, whether it is the overactive, whether it's overactive Preet, whatever his name is, that person of Indian origin, that attorney, who seems to have some kind of a vengeful feeling towards India. And we have unfortunately also a person of Indian origin who is now the Assistant Secretary of State. And both probably have great chips on their shoulders, and they want to prove that they are more American than the Americans.
That's the point. You see, there are I want to actually know tonight. I want to know tonight. Can I just say one thing? I want to know tonight what Fareed Zakaria thinks about this. I want to know tonight what Fareed Zakaria thinks about this. I want to know tonight what those who are from India and who are commentators and diplomats and writers and journalists and others, in America, what they feel about. Why have all of them gone silent on this issue? I'd like to go to C Singh and Sheshadri Chari tonight. Sheshadri Chari, can I draw you in? Sheshadri Chari, can I draw you in? Yes, Shamina. Hear the other side, Shamina. Hear the other side. The complete American hypocrisy in this case must be laid out bare. Yes, C Singh.
Well, let me add to what Mr. Verma and Ambassador Sibal have said. I will not repeat that, but some of the, I've been checking around, and one of the information that I have got, which is reliable, is that this is not a bottom-up case. Obama administration has been having a human trafficking cell in the State Department and in the Justice Department, and they've been snooping around for a long time, and they have really not managed to get hold of many cases. So this came to their notice. So this has been driven from the top. And that explains
for what
part of the
driven from the top for what? For what? What were they trying to prove?
Which is behind it. This had all the clearances from the Justice Department, etc. at the top. and then it has come to New York. So it is not Barara driven. The state attorney has got it later. This came to the notice of the State Department, and it's been driven around Washington.
No, but why? Why would? No, for what reason? Your facts are wrong. Your case is wrong. It's a case of blackmail. It's a case actually of the abuse of the system by this lady.
Come in. You know, when the visa holder is subject to the laws of this country and they make a complaint against an employer, the authorities must take action. And it's part of the law.
Arnab, I didn't even finish.
Let him finish. Let him finish, Shamina. Let him. Shamina, let me tell you. No, 1 second. Shamina, you know what?
Devyani is not the only employer.
Tahmina, 1 second. First of all, you know.
That an employer has a criminal penalty in many circumstances.
Tahmina, I'll tell you what is a criminal penalty. Now, please hear me and let C Singh complete. When the cost of rice for an average family who an American diplomat, hires to help them at home across the world is equal to half the monthly wages for over 60% of the staff. That's the kind of subhuman treatment which you give. Employees paying at least $250 a month for a single room apartment have a salary of $250 to $400 a month. That's how pathetically Americans treat their staff worldwide. You know what, Tahmina? You're an immigration attorney. Go and file cases against every single hypocritical American diplomat before trying to do this with an Indian. Now, please listen to C Singh. He was completing his point. Casey.
The point is, if this is a simple case of visa fraud in New York, why did the US Embassy give visas to the husband and the child? This is being driven from an entirely different level. It's an entirely different approach to the subject. Now, these are either non-governmental organizations outside or some evangelical groups or within the State Department itself and the Justice Department. They're trying to make a case out of it. They're trying to set an example. The way it has been done, it's been done with the intention of setting an example, and that is why the State Department came out with a very blasé statement 2 days ago, from which they've had to back off today, and now they're trying to work their way backwards. But the damage is done. The damage to India-US relations, which have been consolidated over the last 10, 11, 12 years, has been tremendous over the last 48 hours. And I don't think the State Department has still understood it. And the fundamental point is that this is a diplomat who has abided by whatever understanding she had with the domestic. And this is incidentally, Arnab, the 4th case in the last 2 years. There's a consul general who had to settle with $75,000. There's another officer who left with $1.5 million of penalty, which is still pending. So I think it's become a precedent there. Some of these domestics think they can run away, and then the lawyers get hold of them, and they can start suing for more money. So we got 4 of these cases in the last 2 to 3 years. In fact, I'd like to know the former ambassador Nirupma Rao's now come back. I don't see why she's not in front of the camera.
No, you see,
she needs to explain. She's a former foreign secretary.
Sheshadri Chari.
She needs to explain how these 4 cases took place and what is it that the embassy has done to take care of it.
Sheshadri Chari, and I'm really sorry to come to you so late. Sheshadri Chari, I want you to directly respond to Sarosh Zaiwalla, who is a senior lawyer and he's in London. I'll read out what he says in his statement, and I want you to respond to him. He says, the Indian mindset of servant culture needs to change along the changing world. Indians need to work towards abolishing this culture, which has its root in the colonial era of the past. In the Devyani case, he says the alleged breach of US law relates to the protection of the rights of a weaker human being, which should be recognized in India. And then he talks about a fuss around this case. In other words, Sarosh Zaiwalla, who's joining us from London, assumes that Indians have this problem. Indians treat their domestic help and servants badly. Your response to Mr. Zaiwalla, please. And Mr. Zaiwalla, I'll get you to respond to Sheshadri Chari on the other side.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Arnab, in the first place...
Who is to respond?
Arnab, in the first place, I don't think this kind of a stupid argument needs to be rebutted at all. I don't think such a stupid argument needs to be responded at all. In the first place, the American Immigration Department gave her visa not as a slave, but as an official who is going to assist another senior official in the US. And moreover, we have always been treating this case as if the visa application form makes an appeal that she is getting $4,000 as salary. It is wrong. The visa application clearly mentions the name of the employer and the total salary drawn by the employer.
Yes, it does.
Here, her employer incidentally happens to be Devyani, who is drawing $4,000.
Right.
Therefore, it is not a misstatement as far as visa application form is concerned on behalf of Devyani. This visa application form has been done by this lady who is the original criminal and a culprit. She has foisted this case on Devyani. The Americans have screwed up the case badly. They need to quietly apologize, take back the case and close the case in their own best interest. India does not have an ambassador in the US as of now. Former ambassador of the US has come, Indian ambassador has returned, and the present ambassador to China has been designated as ambassador to US. No, I think government of India should stop his appointment immediately and tell the US that we don't require an ambassador as long as your State Department decides how to deal with diplomats.
I agree with you. So first of all,
can I respond?
No, 1 second. I think Mr. Zaiwalla should respond because Sheshadri Chari, who heads the Foreign Affairs cell of the BJP, says, Mr. Zaiwalla, with respect, and I'm only quoting him, he says that your argument is, with respect, and I'm quoting him, a stupid argument. Your response, would you like to revise your argument and respond to Mr. Chari?
Yeah. I am saying it is a stupid argument.
He says it's a stupid argument. Let him respond now.
Yeah, very well. Well, I'm not going to be taken in by use of rude words, but the position is this, that today, even in England, there have been so many cases where Saudi Arabian embassy staff has been arrested because of not treating the servants well. In fact, one of the diplomats has been put on trial because he beat up one of the servants. Now, are you saying that in such a case, the local law should not be respected? And
Arnab Goswami, we are more interested about the Devyani case. We are not interested in what happens in UK. Don't waste our time talking about UK and Arab countries. Please talk about what the United States has done to one of our biggest diplomats. Please.
Mr. Zaiwalla should be allowed to one subject today.
Let's look at it in a rational... But will you allow me to speak then? Let's talk about it rationally.
Please explain the rationale. Please explain the rationale. Please explain the rationale behind US Act.
Well, if the US...
Is this the way you behave with an Indian diplomat, woman diplomat, especially when she goes to school to leave her child in the school?
But we are making too much about this diplomacy business. Diplomacy was all right 70 years ago, but we have to move on. And the law has to be interpreted. Vienna Convention has to be interpreted.
The question is not the diplomacy.
One world now.
No, today, for example.
The US.
No, today, for example,
the US.
What's it?
No, the US State Department. US State Department could have explained this to the Indian Foreign Secretary who was in the State Department 1 week ago. Why did not the State Department consult the Indian Foreign Secretary?
I want to get back now. 1 second.
Yeah, but...
No, there was no consultative unilateral action. We'll teach the Indians a lesson. Mr. Zaiwalla, don't you understand this?
But that is a different issue altogether.
No, the fact is, I'm sorry I'm going to have to say this.
That is a different issue altogether, but
you see, Mr. Zaiwalla, for far too long, our great country...
You're not letting me speak.
Mr. Zaiwalla, there's something bigger in this. First of all, you're making an assumption about Indian culture.
Of course, I'm an Indian too.
But Mr. Zaiwalla, then you should know the Americans are the most racist.
I'm not justifying...
The Americans...
I'm not justifying what they did.
The Americans are the most racist.
And please listen to me. I'm not justifying what they did.
No, but what I'm saying, Mr. Zaiwalla, you say that...
What I'm saying is that please do not make a diplomatic immunity as a very big thing.
You know something,
what
Mr.
happens
Zaiwalla?
if a diplomat commits a crime in
Mr.
America?
Zaiwalla, today...
Why should we not make it a big thing? Please tell me. Why should we not make it a big thing? Please tell me. Diplomatic, it's not a question of just diplomatic immunity, Arnab Goswami. Please remember.
Of course we should.
Even if she was not a diplomat, is this the way to treat a woman?
Kanwal Sibal and C Singh are back in the debate.
Is this your
Sibal
culture?
wants to respond to you. Kanwal Sibal to Sarosh Zaiwalla. C Singh, I'm coming to you after that.
My dear friends, the world is changing.
May I make... Let me make a couple of points.
Certainly.
First of all, I don't know how well off Mr. Zaiwalla is or he is not. but if he's reasonably well off, I'm sure he has a maid. And if he were to tell me that Americans don't employ maids, and there are no rich Americans and not so rich Americans who employ Hispanic maids, and many of the illegal Hispanic immigrants are employed as maids. If he were to tell me that the American embassy officials in India don't employ local servants, now if they do, is it that they have a certain culture which is very different from ours?
It's a good question.
So this is a nonsensical argument. It's a nonsensical argument. Number two.
I'm sorry to have to break this up. I'm going to take a break and come back in 3 minutes, and C Singh is also coming back. Gentlemen, only because I have to take a break. The debate is getting very interesting. C, thank you for your patience. Don't look at your watch because I want you on. And Kanwal Sibal and Mr. Zaiwalla, Mr. Sheshadri Chari. Tahmina, don't look upset. It is a fact that the Americans are the most racist and unfair to their domestic staff worldwide. When I come back on the other side, I will tell you why I think so. Back in a few minutes.